every story about the fires in Hawaii and it's time to stop relying on the government. Hey everybody, this is Tom with Tom's Talk Show, and today we're going to kind of go over and just talk a little about the fires in Hawaii. So many things seem to break down, and so many of those things were related to inaction or wrong action from government agencies. They had the warning sirens that they didn't use. They had everybody gets text messages for Amber Alerts and things like that, different emergencies on their phone. That system has been around for a long time. They could have sent out many messages and helped to direct people where they needed to go and have them rapidly move in that in any specific direction. Take this road, take this highway, go this way. It turns out that the one roadblock that they had actually turned people around to going the wrong way and going back to the fire. So then people who ignored the government instruction actually were people that were able to survive and come through it, with their families intact. So it just, the different, the fact that there were reports for many, I think what I've been listening to and hearing 5 to maybe even 10 years, that they've known that some invasive grass and areas in there that was susceptible to wildfire had been there for a long time, and they'd known about it, and they didn't do anything about it, and that the power poles and transmission lines were very susceptible to wind and falling over, and I guess 29 or almost 30 power poles had fallen down, causing sparks and obviously igniting fires. And no way and no protocol available to turn that off. I mean, I deal with IT. I mean, and security stuff. I mean, every step of the way that you think, in IT is, okay, we're deploying this software. What's the least, amount of, what's that umbrella of that attack surface, right? That someone's going to have coming and trying to attack a computer, right? And you want to minimize that, attack surface, and you want to have, your backups in place and recovery methods for anything that goes on. But they didn't seem to have that here. There was no, they didn't, or maybe they had things in place, but they didn't want to use them. Send people information, send out, alerts, make sure people know what's going on. Where I'm from, in California, the last, before we moved out, there was this fire called the Thomas Fire, which was started by the power company. Again, another government agency failure, right, caused this fire. And in California, why does California have so many fires that spread so horribly in the area? The Paradise, the city of Paradise, basically gone, right, because of fire. Well, years ago, when I was just a wee lad, probably 10, 12 years old, we used to load up the truck and go head up into the hills, in the mountains outside of Sacramento, and we would go up into the hills, and there would be areas that had markers that were like, here's wood, right? And you could go up there and you could take your chainsaws, and there's trees that they had dropped, and you could go in there and people would just clear that out for free, right? Load the back of your truck with, as much firewood as you can carry, and clear that area out of all of the dead, wood, all of the things, and they would create a fire break path through, that area, so that if a fire did start somewhere, it would give them a chance, right, to be able to put it out. If you've got, a 50-yard wide, path through a forest that's empty of everything, and you create those all through, the forest in specific areas, that gives you a chance. It gives you a place to move fire trucks in. That's not, doesn't have a ton of trees all compact there, so you can't maneuver your fire trucks in. It gives you that path. It gives you that time so that the fire isn't just pushing through. I mean, it may get past a fire break, but it's going to take longer, right? It's going to slow it quite a bit. But all of the environmentalists moved in and to California and started and pushed for legislation to stop the fire breaks, because they thought it was, oh, it's so horrible, you're tearing trees down, and it's, they didn't understand that, forest needs to be manageable. They just saw it as, oh, you're tearing green things out. Oh, you're, this bird's habitat was over here, and, you moved a tree, and now that bird has to go somewhere else. I'm like, okay, the bird's going to go somewhere else. I think animals have been pretty good at, thriving wherever they're moved to. I mean, it got a little bit crazy, and that's one of the major reasons, plus the fact that they have not managed water at all very well in California. Another government failure in California. That's one of the reasons that California has all those fires, and they are so bad. I mean, the people in this fire, just, I mean, that's near right where I lived, right? I mean, we were actually having to wear actual masks then, because that actually was better for you if you to get all the smoke and ash particles, from going down your throat and stuff. And yeah, 177 million, did more than $10 billion damage. Most of the houses that were around that area were abandoned, basically by the insurance company. And of course, one of the first groups that was in there was not a government group. It was Samaritan's Purse, who also is in one of the first groups to land and start helping out in Hawaii. So what could they have done better? I'm sure a lot of things. Create fire breaks, upgrade your power lines, do it. In Los Angeles, they had big water pipes break in the city, even though they had gotten special funding to fix these big water pipes that have been there, since 1920s or so. And instead of fixing the water pipes, they paid people's pensions, right? The government unions have, kind of overtaken all this. So you work for 7 years for the government in Los Angeles. Basically, you work for 7 years and you get 100% of your pay and full health coverage for the rest of your life. So they're so backed up with these budgets of pensions, that they can't pay for the things that they need to do to maintain the city. I don't know that that's what was happening in Hawaii, but I mean, that very well could be. The money gets redirected to pensions, redirected to something else, and not to fix the things that needed to be fixed. Now, I mean, there are reports, and the odd thing, there's reports here that some houses were completely, left alone, that were not burnt at all, and other ones right next to it were, burnt completely to the ground. That also happened in the Thomas Fire up in the hills in outside of Ventura. There would be a street, it'd be a cul-de-sac. Just go out. There's a little circle at the end, on a hill, There's 8 houses there. 7 of them burnt completely to the ground, nothing left, and 1 house not touched at all. So fire is very strange in how it moves and which direction it moves, depending on wind and what's flammable and the water, in the ground and different things like that. But I to rely, it's almost like at some point, relying on the government to help us and to be there for us, especially in these very liberal areas. I've seen, so many of these cities that have, disasters, especially coming from California. I mean, that so many things would happen and nothing gets done, nothing gets fixed. It's like, okay, we know this is a problem and we need to put money on it in order to fix it and to get things back working again and to make it sure it doesn't happen again. But no, they go, certain people get bonuses, certain people have to pay for pensions and, and all that. And cities file for bankruptcy all the time in California. So just that government, machine I think is just so bogged down anymore that if we can privatize more of this stuff, and that's what's happening, right? Samaritan's Purse, Glenn Beck's, organization is sending people there using, their own planes to haul everything there. A lot of this stuff is not being done by the government. It's being done by, church and family, oriented organizations, and that's what's really getting it done, getting things moved forward. I mean, luckily in Florida, in the state right now, the last hurricane, right? I mean, they had bridges and things that were gone, and they were able to build them back and get them working via, basically landfill, within a short amount of time. And that just comes from, the government getting kind of out of the way and just providing resources to, the people that are there that know how to get the stuff done, and yeah, there's something to be said for, the leader, like for, the president or something to go there, to show support. But sometimes you don't want them there. You don't want them. You want the people on the ground. You want FEMA on the ground. You want, these other organizations there who are really helping. But day one, president or governor of a state should immediately be at a pulpit saying, here's the things that are going on. Here are the resources that are going, and actually have numbers and actually have people and actually have, an idea of what's going on. Now, we're just throwing everything, which isn't helpful to the people, right? Saying we have 4 planes, they've got, 50,000 pounds of food, blankets, and, personal hygiene supplies and things. They're landing, in 36 hours, and they're going to be there, right? This is the drop-off point will be coordinated by your, local government. That's what you should say, right? If you're a president, you're a leader, you're whatever, that's what you should say. You should have those details available. You can get those details. Of course, you have to be, cognizant of reality, unlike our current president. But yeah, all of this is just the tragedy. Is all of this is avoidable, right? I mean, if we start pushing the government to do the things that are needed, right? We need, public hearings about what's going on. Okay, they should have had hearings saying, okay, reports that say we need to do this, and then you as a citizen need to step forward and do what it takes to ask your government, why are you not doing this? What is doing this? Go to some meetings, things like that. Start writing your senators and your representatives. I mean, since we've moved here, in California, I had never wrote any senator at all about anything because I knew it would completely fall on deaf ears. But here in Florida, I mean, I write letters and I write basically emails, fill out the email forms on their websites, for the state legislature and for the federal legislature. I write stuff all of the time. I don't know if it actually gets read or gets some of the local ones. You'll get a message back saying thanks you for your your comments and things like that. But federal representatives, you typically don't get much back from them. But I continue to do it, and that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to start find the people that are responsive and actually are going to interact with you and continue to vote for them, and the people that are not responsive and supporting things that cause this, get them out of office. Don't care what party they're on, don't care where they are. We need to start finding people who are definitely fighting for the American people and not for their own self-interest. All right. Well, that's kind of my thoughts there. I mean, and how it kind of parallels some things that go on in California. Just tragic. I know there's a lot of places to donate. I encourage you to find one of the reputable places to donate a little bit of money, to the Hawaii stuff. And obviously pray for all the people there, I think, is the other big message. All right. Here you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care.